Welcome back everyone to the video, and today we are doing my first mock draft of the 2020 or for the 2024 NFL draft. I guess I almost said 2024 season, not quite there I guess, but same difference. I'm gonna be doing this for every single team just for the first round. This is my first mock draft of the year, like I said. So for this one, I'm not going to have any trades in. I'm going to keep it very simple. Just every team, if they were to stay where they're at, who I could see them picking, who I think might be the best pick for that spot. And here's the other thing, because to do trades, you have to subscribe to the PFF whatever. So you guys subscribe to my channel, and then I'll subscribe to theirs, and then we can, next video do some draft trades. But seriously though, if you go into enjoy today's video, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more NFL content like this. Regardless of if you do or not, I am going to be doing another mock draft later on. I would ideally like to do around 3 or 4 before the draft comes around, so hopefully that works out how I'm planning that. But as for the mock draft, we're gonna jump right into it right now. Now, as I said, this is my first mock draft of the year, and I've had to do a lot of research into a lot of these prospects I didn't know a whole lot about. So if there are any picks where you guys are very kind of just baffled as to why I chose it, honestly, just comment down below who you guys think is the better pick there, because again, I'm still learning for a lot of this stuff, but I do think I have a lot of players going to teams where they can fill a lot of needed positions or add needed depth. But yeah, so anyway, to jump right into it, we're going to start the draft. And with the first pick is the Bears. In my opinion, this is the most locked in pick of the entire draft. Caleb Williams, whether you think he might be the best quarterback or not, I think it's pretty obvious he's going to be taken first. Again, whether you guys think that's the right pick or not, I don't know. You guys can tell me down below if you want to. But I do think it's very obvious the Bears are pretty dialed in on him, and Caleb Williams is going to be a Bear. I think he's going to a great situation with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet. I think he's going to be in a great spot. I hope that's for Fields, because Fields kind of got the short end of the straw. I mean, he did not have a lot to work with there for a while. And in my opinion, I don't think you can pass up on a prospect like Caleb Williams. And I think the Bears felt the same way by trading Fields away. So they're getting Caleb Williams. That is who I see them drafting. And I see this next pick being a very hotly debated one between the Patriots and Washington, because a lot can happen here. The Patriots are rumored to be wanting to trade back, if the price is right, of course. And then if they don't trade back, if neither team trades back, then you also have to think of who they're going to pick right here. Between, in my opinion, both quarterbacks being Drake May and Jayden Daniels from LSU. In my opinion, Drake May is going to go second, because I just think he is the second best quarterback in this draft. It's really that simple for me. I understand Daniels is an amazing athlete, but I don't think you can pass up on a passer as good as Drake May. I think if he's there, you just take him. I think a lot of times, like valuing the kind of the athletic side of things for the quarterback instead of the passing thing and hoping to develop the passing abilities, it doesn't always work well. And for Drake May, I mean, he's, in my opinion, a much better passer than Jayden Daniels. Daniels is the better athlete, more of a dual threat, but Drake May, in my opinion, should be the second pick in the draft, and he's going to go to Washington, which then leaves us with the Patriots. So now, once again, the Patriots, if maybe they are really, really set on Drake May, he goes second. Maybe they trade back immediately. Maybe they trade back before this video is even uploaded. I don't know. But again, for the sake of this video, assuming the Patriots stay here, I do think they go quarterback. And again, I think it's a new era, New England, new head coach, new management, new front office stuff. I mean, I think this is a new beginning, and I do see them taking Jayden Daniels, because for me, the Patriots have not been able to really pin down the quarterback spot since Tom Brady's left. They've had Mac Jones in there, Bailey Zappi in there. Now they have Jacoby Brissett, who I think that, according to some reports, whether they're true or not, they are comfortable starting for a certain amount of time if they don't get a quarterback. But in my opinion, if you have Jayden Daniels there, just take him. Get a quarterback, develop him, try to have some sort of consistency on offense, because the Patriots have really not had consistency on offense in a while. I do think it'd be interesting if they took Marvin Harrison here, but in my opinion, you have to get a quarterback, because that position has been very up in the air for them since Brady left. And I think it's a nice opportunity to really just take him, especially if Washington happens to take Daniels and Drake May falls. I think the Patriots have to go quarterback here, which then leaves us with the Cardinals at pick 4. And in my opinion, from here, they're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he's the best pick here. Something I will say, though, a lot of people say that him and Blake Neighbors are very similar as far as who the better prospect is, or maybe even Neighbors is better. In my opinion, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best prospect, although I will say I don't think the gap between him and Neighbors is as big as some might think it is. If Harrison is not in this, well, actually, not even Harrison. If this wide receiver draft class is not as deep and amazing as it is this year, Neighbors is probably the wide receiver one any other year, at least in my opinion. But when you have an athlete as amazing as Marvin Harrison Jr., who can has an amazing ability to make contested catches, to track in balls. I mean, he's just an amazing player. I don't think you can pass up on him. So I have the Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall. Which then brings us down to the Chargers. And so then again, assuming they're still at this pick, if I would have filmed this video before free agency, I would have had a much different pick here. But now that Mike Williams is gone and Keenan Allen is gone, I don't think you can pass up wide receiver, because in my opinion, I don't think you can go into next year with Quentin Johnston as your wide receiver one after what he's shown this previous year. Not saying he can't develop, not saying he can't improve, but when a player as good as Malik Neighbors is there, I don't think you risk passing him up, believing in Quentin Johnston, picking someone else. I have the Chargers picking Malik Neighbors here. I think he's a great player. I think the Chargers really need a player like that, especially at receiver, because their offense is going to be a whole lot different now, because even Austin Eckler is gone. It's a new look Chargers next year, and I think Neighbors is going to help them out on offense a lot. So then number 6, and once again, had I filmed this video, a few weeks before, it would have been a much different pick here for the Giants. And I don't know if I personally would agree with this pick, but I really do see the Giants taking J.J. McCarthy. I know some people really have some different opinions about him as a player. He has really shot up the draft boards recently. I saw a report today saying that Washington might even take him 2nd. That's a bit too much for me. I'm not going to lie. I think that's a major smokescreen. I cannot fathom McCarthy rising so high in such a short amount of time that they take him over someone like Drake May or Jaden Daniels. So in my opinion, McCarthy's a great player. He's a very nice tight window passer, which helps a lot in the NFL, because players in the NFL, well, I guess I'll rephrase that. Open in the NFL is not open in college, if that makes sense. The distance away from the defender is not usually as wide as it is in college when a player is considered open. So being able to fit the ball into those tight windows is very important. McCarthy is good at doing that. In my opinion, I think it's time to move on from Daniel Jones. You just got to kind of cut your losses. You owe him a lot of money, but you're not going to win games doing what you're doing. It's very obvious in my opinion. So I haven't taken McCarthy there. Will that work out for him or not? I don't know, but I really do think the Giants are just going to take another shot at quarterback with J.J. McCarthy at 6. And so it's a very, at least in my mock draft, very offensive, skill position heavy basically for the first 6 picks. But the Titans, at least in my opinion, I think it's a very clear pick that Joe Alt will be going to them. I know some people have a couple other O-linemen pretty close to him on the board, but I really do think he's the first one to go off of it. I think he's a great prospect. The Titans definitely need help on the O-line, so I think Joe Alt is the pick there. And honestly, right to the Falcons, this is an interesting pick for me, because last year I was kind of surprised to see the Falcons go with Bijan Robinson, because flashing back to last year, the season that just happened, Tyler Algier did a pretty good job. He was a very solid running back. They didn't necessarily need a running back, but I do understand that Bijan Robinson was so good they went ahead and took him. So right here, I think the Falcons could do a lot of different things here, especially considering how that top 6 to 7 will shake out on draft night. But in my opinion, I do think they go to the defensive side of the ball, and I think they go with Jared Verse. I think he's a great player. Honestly, I think he's projected down a little bit further as far as the ADP for this mock draft goes. I think he's the pick here, although I will say I understand if they do pick Byron Murphy the 2nd, because he's also an amazing player, amazing defensive lineman. And it's kind of crazy because a lot of the mock drafts I've looked at, this guy, I've seen him being picked anywhere from like 7 to like 25. Like, it varies a lot. I'm not really sure why that is. I think he's a great player. I think he is going to go very high up in the draft, but I do think Jared Verse comes off the board before him and does go to the Falcons at pick number 8. And so then for the Bears, so you're back with pick number 9 right here. You just take Caleb Williams. And where do you go from here? Do you go to defense? In my opinion, I think they keep it simple. I think they go with Rome Odunze. And the reason that is because you have DJ Moore, you have Keenan Allen. I think it's kind of time to give up on Velus Jones Jr. I don't think he's really going to cut it as wide receiver 3 or really anything more than that. Darnell Mooney is now in Atlanta, so you do have a spot you kind of need filled, and I think Rome Odunze is a great pick for them here. because he's not forced to step in and be the guy in his first year, or even maybe the second year or third year. You know, he has a lot of guys above him. Well, not really a lot of guys above him. He has some very good players above him to where he's not forced to take on a role he isn't ready for, which I think is very beneficial to really all rookies, especially ones that get a lot of volume. And so for Rome Odunze, I think he's the pick here. I think, you know, Keenan Allen isn't the youngest receiver in the world. DJ Moore isn't old at all, though. So I think even if Keenan Allen moves on in a few years or retires or whatever it may be, I think Odunze can slip into the wide receiver 2 role just fine. And even at that, Keenan Allen's come off like his best year. So I don't think a whole lot's going to be asked of Rome Odunze. He has time to develop. I think he's definitely the pick here for the Bears. And so then for the Jets, a major issue for the Jets last year, apart from Rodgers getting hurt and missing the entire season, was that O-line that did not give Zach Wilson much of a chance. Even if Zach Wilson was struggling, they would have struggled with Aaron Rodgers in there as well. It just wasn't a good spot for the O-line at all last year. And they did sign Tyron Smith, I believe it was, from the Cowboys, which, you know, is a good signing. He's not young, but it is a very good signing, very good veteran player. I have them taking an offensive lineman here as well with Troy Fautanu, I think is how you say that. If I said that wrong, I do really apologize. I think he's a great pick here, though. Like I said, the Jets, I think they just need linemen here. I really do. I think you could probably go in a few different directions. Maybe get an edge player after letting Bryce Huff go, I think was what his name was. Or Bryce Hall, I can't remember. But I think tackle is what you have to go with here. He's a great prospect, and I think it's something you need. You get someone young in there, and you don't have to worry about that position for hopefully many years to come. So now over to pick 11 with the Vikings. Now, listen, once again, for this draft, I was not doing trades. I would be shocked if draft night comes and the Vikings are picking at pick number 11. I really think they're going to trade up. Maybe not pick 3, maybe not pick 4, but I really think they're going to make a push to trade up. So again, this might not be the most realistic because I don't see them being picked here, although I do see this player going around this area in the draft, and that is Byron Murphy II. And the reason I have them picking him here is because they lose Danielle Hunter in free agency. They bring in Jonathan Greener from the Texans, which is still, you know, a great move, but I think getting some youth in there is very beneficial for them. Byron Murphy II is an amazing player, and I mean, they have a lot of needs up there, but I don't think it's any that you really take that high up. Even Brock Bowers, as amazing as he is, I don't think the Vikings, if they are still here, it's a big if, I don't think they really go with that. I think they help that defensive line. When you have an offense, you know, you have Hawkinson, you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. I don't think you need to force that here and pick something too high that you already kind of have at least that spot filled with to some degree. I think you get something like a youth player in there to really help out another spot in the field that you actually need a bit more, and that is, in my opinion, is defensive line with Byron Murphy II. So then over to the Broncos. The Broncos, I think, not for this point in the draft, I think the back end of the first round might be interesting to see if they trade back into it to take a quarterback. But in my opinion, I think right here, they also go with an edge defender, and that is going to be Dallas Turner from Alabama. I think he's a great player. I think the Broncos do need edge very badly. They also need some cornerback depth as well. Although the corners on the board, I don't necessarily think that they could be big day one impact players as much as Dallas Turner could be. Not saying those guys can't be on other teams or anything like that. I think Dallas Turner fills a bigger need in a bigger way for them is all I'm saying. Which again, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. I'm you know, just throwing that out there, but I do think Dallas Turner is the pick here for the Broncos if they find themselves picking at pick 12, which again, they could trade back. It wouldn't surprise me too much. And then next up is the Raiders. And so the Raiders, once again, they have quite a few team needs here. You know, the other day I saw a report saying that Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Raiders, said that whatever quarterback change or whatever they do, it needs to go through Aiden O'Connell. So, you know, maybe they give him a shot. Maybe they make a move and just let him sit behind Aiden O'Connell, give him another chance. I don't know. I don't see them taking a quarterback here. I think any quarterbacks on the board right now would be a reach for them. So I think they go for a different role, which in my opinion, I think is offensive line. And I actually have them taking J.C. Latham here, which I believe I said correctly. I think he can help them out a lot. I could be wrong about this. I believe he is also able to maybe slip into guard, but I might be thinking of a different offensive line. I'm going to be completely honest there. But they need O-line help a lot. I think it's a good pick for him. I don't see them trading back or anything like that either. So I think, honestly, at this point, they just take best available or what they think is best available. So for me, that is O-line, and that is J.C. Latham. And so then for the Saints, I see them also in a very similar spot. I don't think their big needs like quarterback or receiver are really on the board at this point to where you can make that pick and feel good about it for the value you're getting at this, high up in the draft. So in my opinion, they also go O-line, and I think they pick Talis Fuaga, if I said it correctly. If I butchered that, again, I do apologize. I'm trying my best here, but I do think they pick him because, again, the Saints, they do need some O-line help. I think it's a great pick for them right there at pick 14. So then the Colts. So the Colts could do a few different things here. As you guys can see, it says their team needs are wide receiver and DB. If they go with DB, it wouldn't surprise me too much. But in my opinion, I think they actually pick Brock Bowers. And while tight end isn't listed as a team need, I think Brock Bowers brings a lot to the table as far as blocking, but also how versatile he is. You can line him up all over the place as a tight end, receiver, and he's going to be very impactful in the receiving game. And it gives another big weapon to Anthony Richardson coming back from a shoulder injury this past season. I think Brock Bowers is a great pick. Also, this might be like way out there, but the NFL just banned hip drop tackling, which means for smaller DBs to tackle bigger tight ends, it's going to be more difficult. They have to do different approaches rather than the hip drop method. And I could actually see teams deciding to maybe dump it out underneath two tight ends to where there's no linebackers, only DBs, and without able to do the hip drop method, they have to kind of tackle in a different way. Maybe it makes it easier for tight ends to gain yards. I don't know. But I could see teams attempting to exploit that. And I think Brock Bowers can really help the Colts, regardless of if that hypothetical I throw out there happens or not. I think Brock Bowers gives Richardson a very good weapon in the receiving game. And I do like this pick a lot for them right here. And then for the Seahawks, I'm going to be honest. This pick I really think is just whatever their biggest need is. I think there's a lot that will be available on the board that they could really use. But for me, I think the right pick is Jackson Powers-Johnson. They need a center. This is a great center pick. It's that simple for me. It's not always the case where you find a great center available when you really need one, and they're going to find themselves in a spot where they need a center, and he's going to be on the board. So for me, this is a fairly simple pick. I think the Seahawks will go this route. If for some reason he's not there or they decide to go with something else, there are still good, like edge. Maybe I'm wrong, actually. Yeah, there is I forgot how to say his name, not going to lie. I'll get to that point, though, in a second where I say it correctly. But for right now, I do think they just picked Jackson Powers-Johnson. And so then for the Jaguars, so pick number 17 here. I think they actually go with Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback from Toledo. I think he's a great prospect. I think the Jaguars do need secondary help, and I think he can provide that very well. So I'm honestly just going to have them pick him here. I think it's a nice pick. If you guys disagree with that, though, and you have the Jaguars going a different way, because I know that there could be a few different options here, comment that down below. But for me, I think that's the best pick for them. But yeah, so they're getting Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. So then for the Bengals, I think in the dream scenario, Brock Bowers falls to you here because you need a tight end. He's great in the receiving game, and you have Joe Burrow as a quarterback, so you can kind of see the connection there. But in at least my mock draft, I don't see him falling that far. If it happens in real life, if I'm the Bengals, I am calling just as fast as the Vikings called Jefferson whenever the Eagles passed on him. So I think that'd be the best scenario possible. I don't think it's the most realistic one. And so I have them picking Johnny Newton because I don't know how to say his first name. I know he goes by Johnny, though. So Johnny Newton from Illinois. It's going to help the Bengals a lot in the defensive line. They lost DJ Reader, who's a huge player for them, so I think this helps them a lot at pick 18. And so then for the Rams, I do also have them going defensive back here as well. And I have them taking Terrion Arnold at pick 19 from Alabama. I think he's going to help them out a lot. I think Nate Wiggins is also on the board, which is always possible to go with him instead. In my opinion, I think Arnold is the pick here. I know Quinyon Mitchell, maybe he falls. Maybe they pick him instead. Or maybe even the Jaguars pick, Arnold before, Mitchell. I don't know. But in my opinion, this is how it would shake out. And I do have the Rams going defensive back here and picking Terrion Arnold from Alabama. So then for the Steelers. So the Steelers can do a few different things here. And I'm going to actually give you guys kind of two picks, but what I'm going to go with just for the sake of this video and this draft. As it says for team needs, it says quarterback, wide receiver, tackle, center, and cornerback. So in my opinion, I think the Steelers pick Nate Wiggins, the cornerback here. I think they go for another young corner like Joey Porter because Patrick Peterson, obviously not the youngest guy in the world. They need some youth help back there in the secondary, and I think Nate Wiggins is a great pick. With that said, if they want to get a receiver, because they did just trade Deontay Johnson to the Panthers, they have George Pickens there as their wide receiver 1 now, I think they could actually go back and pick Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. I don't think that's the pick here. In my opinion, they go defensive back. But if they end up going receiver, I do think you guys could maybe see them take Brian Thomas Jr. here. Again, if you guys have between those two as well, or maybe something different entirely, let me know down below. But I have them picking Nate Wiggins. It'll be interesting to see what the Steelers' approach, though, is actually at this point in the draft. And then for the Dolphins, they need tight end, O-line, and defensive line, or defensive interior, whatever you guys want to have there. But in my opinion, I think they go with O-line and they go with Graham Barton. Once again, I believe this is one of those picks to where they've said he could potentially slide to guard if he needs to. I do like that for the Dolphins to give them some sort of flexibility. If that is not the case, and I'm getting this confused once again, then I guess just forget I said anything. But I'm pretty sure that's also this guy. So I have the Dolphins taking Graham Barton right here and helping out their O-line a bit. And so then for the Eagles here, they need wide receiver, linebacker, and defensive back. I actually think they go defensive back here. Once again, though, the Eagles could potentially get Brian Thomas Jr. here if they feel like that's the pick. He's still available, at least in my opinion, on this board that I'm making. So that's always possible. I have them actually taking Cooper DeJean from Iowa. I think he's a great quarterback prospect. I think they do need help back there. Bradbury has struggled. Darius Slay has struggled at times. The Eagles as a whole were just all kind of just discombobulated this past year. I think a lot had to do with coaching, but everybody just not on the same page. And I think Cooper DeJean can actually really help them in the secondary. So I do have them taking him right here at pick 22. And so then for the Vikings, so again, they need quite a few things here. And once again, I would be surprised if they are picking here on draft night because I see them trading up, which would probably include pick 23, I would think. And so again, they need quite a few things, but in my opinion, I think what you do here is you prioritize the offensive line and you actually go with Zach Frazier, the center from West Virginia. Once again, the same thing as I said for the Seahawks. When you need a center and there's a very good one available, I think you really had to prioritize that. That does not happen all the time. Yes, you could go a different route with the O-line, but I think Zach Frazier is the best pick here for what you're getting at this point in the draft. But once again, maybe it's a reach. Average draft position here is like, 39.5, and I have him here at 23, but again, I think it's a great pick for the Vikings. And then pick 24 for the Cowboys. And again, I have had this player fall a bit far in my draft. So this would be very ideal for the Cowboys, but they lose Tyron Smith. I think they go with Olu Fashanu. I think he's a great prospect for tackle. I know I've actually seen some people have him being picked as high as like in the top 10. I don't personally see that happening, but I would not be surprised if he comes off the board earlier than where I have him. I think this would be absolutely ideal for the Cowboys, or really any team that needs an offensive lineman finding him at this point in the draft. But again, players fall every year. Some things shake out that way, and in the draft I'm making, this is just where he falls to. So I have the Cowboys kind of taking best available right here. And then over to the Packers. So they need a few things here. They have a very, very young offense, obviously, but also that secondary struggled a bit. And I will say, they did address that in free agency. They did bring in Xavier McKinney from New York. I think it's a great move for them. But I also see them doubling up here and adding even more depth back there because that defense did struggle at times, especially in the secondary. And I actually have them picking Tyler Nubin from Minnesota, who's listed at safety. I'm going to be honest, I am not super familiar if he's able to also maybe fill in like as a corner or any other thing or any other spot like that. So if he is, I think it's even better for them. But I do think the pick here is Tyler Nubin, even if he only is a safety. I think they need that. I think they need depth very badly, especially youth, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Probably not more youth on offense. I already have plenty of that. But I think this is a good pick. I do have him going here at pick 25. And so then for the Buccaneers, you need quite a few things here. I know you lose Shaq Barrett in free agency, and so I have them immediately addressing that with Latu. Hopefully I said it correctly. If I didn't, again, I do apologize. I think they need edge, though. I think this is a great edge pick. Once again, this could potentially be someone that maybe falls in the draft. Maybe he goes way higher than this. I don't know. But if he does happen to fall to pick 26, I think it's a really great pick for them. And so I do have Latu coming off the board at pick 26. And so then for the Cardinals. So the Cardinals seem to be very committed to helping out Kyler Murray. They've addressed that in years past with kind of a lineman. They try to bring in Hopkins. Now obviously he's gone. So in my draft, I do have them getting Marvin Harrison Jr. I think they actually double up at receiver and give Kyler Murray a lot of youth to work with, but also players that could potentially really be day one starters in the NFL and develop into some very good wide receivers. and I have them actually taking Brian Thomas Jr. here, doubling up on wide receiver. Maybe this is not the best use of their picks, and if it isn't, and you don't think it is, let me know down below who you guys have them picking here. There are other needs, obviously, that they need to address, but I think this could provide a very nice young wide receiver duo for Kyler Murray, who is now going to be a year removed from his ACL tear, and hopefully has a good bounce back season, and he definitely needs some wide receivers and some youth out there. So hopefully, in my opinion, they address that in at least some way, but I think Brian Thomas Jr. could be a very good pick for them. And then for the Bills, they could go a few different directions here. Now, obviously, you have Stephon Diggs, wide receiver. You lose Gabe Davis in free agency. You bring in Curtis Samuel. You still have Khalil Shakir, but I think they need a more solidified wide receiver too, in my opinion. And I actually have them picking Adonai Mitchell. If I said that incorrectly, I apologize. Adonai, I'm not totally sure, but I do have them picking him here. And I think he's a great wide receiver prospect from Texas. I know a lot of people love Xavier Worthy because he's super fast, broke the combine record. I don't think you can always just draft off speed and potential. I think Mitchell is just the better prospect, and I do think he is going to go at least to one of these teams at the end of the first round, and I do see the Bills actually going ahead and taking him right here at pick 28. And so then next up is the Lions at pick 29. Now, once again, they can do a few different things here. In my opinion, they go ahead and they go down and they pick Jordan Morgan from Arizona. And the reason I say this is because I know this for a fact this time. I mentioned this a few different times this video, but I know for a fact it has been said he could potentially slip in and play guard in the NFL. The Lions do need that. And if you could potentially have a day one starter there in the O-line and can already help out Jared Goff, give him some more time, I think you go ahead and do it. Again, they need edge, they need defensive backs, but while they could definitely do that, as far as picking, I have to find him now because I know I thought about it. Kool-Aid McKinstry, I think is how you say his name. I could see them doing that as well. So if you guys have him if you guys have the Lions picking him, very valid in my opinion. I almost did go with that, but I think they could potentially reach for an O-line pick because sometimes the line draft picks just kind of baffle and then it works out very well. And I think this could honestly be one of those picks to where people might not see it at first, but it might work out very well after he, either transfers to guard or whatever that decision is. I think he's a great prospect, and the Lions could take him here at pick 29. And then for the Ravens, again, they need a few different things here as well. And if you guys think they might pick Peyton Wilson, let me know down below, because I kind of thought about that after they lost Patrick Queen to the Steelers in free agency. And again, I don't think they necessarily need to pick that here. They still have Roquan Smith. They need O-line, and that's how I have them picking Amarius Mims right here, because in my mock draft I've made, he does fall a bit from where he's kind of drafted on average. And I do think that if he happens to fall this far, it'd be a very nice quality pick for the Ravens at pick 30. Again, they need a few different things. Maybe they trade back. Honestly, if they don't love anything here, I could see that being a possibility. But I do have them picking Amarius Mims at this pick. And then for the 49ers, I have them also addressing O-line, which is Tyler Guyton. Again, their O-line tended to struggle at times in the Super Bowl, which, to be fair, you're going against Chris Jones and, George Karlaftis, I almost forgot what his name was. So you're going against a good defensive line, but again, you need some help there. And so I do have Tyler Guyton being the pick here for the 49ers. I'm not sure what else I'd really go with. Maybe if Kool-Aid McKinstry happens to fall, maybe they pick him here. That could be a pretty good pick. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions picked him because, like I said before, I was kind of in between there. So I'm going to have them picking Tyler Guyton here. I think it's a good pick, and that is where he's going off the board. And so finally the Chiefs at pick 32. I'm going to be honest, I don't care who you guys have here, but in my opinion, this has to be a receiver. You have to take a receiver here if you're the Chiefs. Have they addressed it? Sure, they brought in Marquise Brown. You need to get a young receiver with a lot of potential, a very good playmaker, because Kadarius Toney is just clearly not going to be that player for you. And I have them picking Ladd McConkey. I think he's a very good prospect from Georgia. Very nice after the catch. He has very good hands. I like what I've seen from him a lot. As far as the tape goes and all. So I'm going to go ahead and pick him for the Chiefs. I think this would be a very good pick. I know Troy Franklin has been mocked here at times, or even Keon Coleman, and a few different guys. But in my opinion, I think Ladd McConkey could be very good for them just because of his ability to be a playmaker. And the Chiefs do love playmakers to kind of go off script and help Patrick Mahomes. So that is why I have them picking him here. And so that is basically how this draft shakes out for me. And they should lay it out, which I guess it doesn't all fit in the same thing, and I get an ad, so that's cool. But it doesn't really all fit well here, so I'll go ahead and download it if I can have it up on the screen so you guys can see the whole kind of finished product now, I guess, per se. But yeah, so let me know down below what you guys agree with and disagree with. Again, this is my first mock draft, so I'm sure I got some picks wrong. And again, it's very hard to pick it all correctly anyway. But as far as the first half of the first round goes, I see it being very, very offensive heavy. There's a lot of amazing offensive players available, and I'm excited to see how it all shakes out. Again, this is very simple, no trades. If you guys want to see a mock draft with trades, or even a first and second round mock draft, comment that down below. Subscribe to my channel, leave a like on the video. I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.